From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, how can kids in rural America get cutting-edge treatments? See how new technologies bringing help right to their homes.
The earlier you can intervene, the earlier you can enrich that environment.
And it's another big report day that could move markets as new numbers are released about what could happen for ag in 2020.
What I think 2020 is going to be is really a race between supply and demand.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. A new WASDE report is scheduled to come out in just a few hours from now, and many are wondering what impact a deadly virus in China will have on inventories here in the U.S. and how that all factors in to China making ag buys under the new Phase 1 trade deal. Ag researchers at Allendale saying it expects the Phase 1 deal will include 6.5 million tons of U.S. corn exports. Of that, 2.6 is for old crop, but it's still forecasting exports to fall. As for soybeans, Allendale's again expecting Phase 1 will add up to 40 million tons of U.S. soybeans to China. Of that, 12 million metric tons will be old crop. A portion of it will be offset by lower exports to non-China buyers and lower domestic crush. Ending stocks, it puts at 320 million bushels. As for wheat, now it expects the deal with China to include 4.48 million tons, and only 896,000 tons will be seen for old crop. It's lowering wheat stocks to 958 million bushels. American Farm Bureau economist John Newton joins us. And John, there are plenty of unknowns left in 2020.
What I think 2020 is going to be is really a race between supply and demand. And people are going to laugh and say, well, that's every single year. But if the trade agreements really kick in, we could see prices get juiced up. But we know we're going to see a lot more acres come online in 2020. All those 20 million acres that we had in Prevent plant, a lot of those are going to come back online this year. So it really is a race between supply and demand. I think one bright spot, we did see the beef cattle herd contract for the first time since 2014, and that's some good news in that particular sector of the farm economy.
John, new reports show ag exports were down just 2% last year at $136 billion. Soybean exports to all countries rose 9%, according to USDA's Bart Kenner. Corn and cotton exports fell, but wheat's on increase of 15%. Now, we know exports were off in 2018, but how are you reading 2019 so far?
But we have to remember that agricultural exports to China fell by 50% in 2018. And so when you combine 2018 and 2019, we're still down some $16 billion in sales to China over those 2 years. You have to remember that we've grown agricultural exports considerably in the last few decades. Since China joined the WTO, they've become a major player in our market, but we faced a lot of headwinds. The Japanese market, we lost $1.5 billion in sales in that market. And then again, the headwinds in China. Things have not recovered. And then when you take into consideration.
All right, thanks. Now take a look at this graphic from John. Ag imports rose 2%, cutting our 2019 trade surplus in half. John says it's among the lowest levels seen in 40 years. USDA says already this year exports are trending up about 3% over this time last year. The latest WASDE report comes out later this morning. Look for coverage online at agweb.com. We'll also have analysis tomorrow morning on AgDay. Meanwhile, China is continuing to battle the deadly coronavirus as the death toll grows. 900 people in the country have reportedly died from the virus, with over 40,000 infected, the vast majority of those in mainland China. President Xi Jinping was spotted wearing a mask while taking a containment survey at a medical facility in Beijing. He's promising the country will fight against the virus. Now, it's estimated the country will spend at least $10 billion to control the outbreak, with experts predicting the virus will peak by the middle to end of this month. President Trump has unveiled his $4.8 trillion budget. It promises a balanced budget in 15 years, all while leaving Social Security and Medicare benefits untouched. But it also includes previously rejected cuts to domestic programs like food stamps and Medicaid. The budget includes proposed savings in several ag programs, including tightening farm payment eligibility rules, reducing crop insurance subsidies, and eliminating redundant farm bill programs. All told, the possible cuts could add up to more than $57 million over the next 10 years. In general, the plan calls for cutting funding to overseas military operations, adds $1 trillion over the same time frame to make the president's 2017 tax cuts permanent law. An update on the story we've been following for several months now. We've learned the investigation into the Tyson beef plant fire is ongoing. You'll remember back in August, the Tyson beef processing plant in Holcomb, Kansas was forced to shut down after a large fire. The plant has a slaughter capacity of 6,000 head per day, accounting for about 5% of all U.S. fed cattle packing capacity. The fire and disruption to supplies sent cattle prices plummeting for a short time. Portions of the industry demanded an investigation, and USDA said they were looking into it. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon, speaking to experts at this year's Cattlemen's Convention, told her that report is still pending.
I wish I could tell you a time. We're working with other federal government people in order to help us complete that, and I don't really have a time date. We want to have good facts and better investigation and forensics rather than a quick report. And I would have hoped it had been done really by the end of the year, but it's a thorough deep dive that we're looking at, and we'll do it as soon as possible.
So we are waiting for the results to come out because we do believe it's going to have a huge impact on next steps for our industry. We continue to ask the USDA to, of course, get it done as quickly as possible, but not rush it to a point where they miss something. This needs to be thorough because a lot of people are waiting to see this as the definitive answer of what happened. And as I said, it will be used to help determine next steps on things such as reauthorization of mandatory price reporting.
The Tyson plant was able to reopen in late December. We've talked a lot about snow in the Midwest and Plains, but February is definitely off to a soggy start in the South. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen, she joins us with more. Cindy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just been storm after storm affecting especially the eastern part of the country, but with heavy rain in the southeast, and the next 24 hours are going to be no exception. Now, this is the last 24 hours of accumulated precipitation. Of course, this is just an estimate, but you can see many areas from Louisiana on through Mississippi, Alabama have seen well over 2 inches, 3, even 4 inches of rain there. We're kind of almost off the charts there. Some spots may have seen 5 inches of rain. When you add on the next 24 hours, we're just going to add to that. So some of these areas are going to be seeing probably over 6-7 inches of rain over the course of a couple of days. Again, this is just an estimate and a forecast, but looking at some of the data coming out of the region, there are parts of Alabama and Mississippi and Tennessee that have seen well over 10 inches of rain over the last month, and probably closer to 15. And when you add these couple of days, we're going to be seeing even more than that. So a lot of rain in the southeast. All right, let's go on to something a little bit more fun. Check out this group of cattle. They are just loving their freshly bedded pen. Jason Gates of LaPorte City, Iowa is sharing this video saying, if only we could harness the joy that they feel. I just love this video. I can watch it over and over and over again. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Well, coming up in your national forecast, we're going to talk more about all of that rain in the southeast. Clinton?
Plant-based proteins have gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of years. However, according to survey results from National Cattlemen's Beef Association, more than half of consumers don't realize plant-based products being marketed as burgers don't have any real meat included. This comes from an online survey of more than 1,800 consumers. Less than half of the respondents understood the labeling term plant-based beef was intended to describe an entirely vegetarian or vegan food product. A new WASDE report is due out later today, but what should you do with that 2019 corn crop still sitting in the bin? We'll discuss that next in analysis, and later, getting high-tech help to kids in need in rural America. And they don't even need to leave their homes in the country. Brian Doherty with Total Farm Marketing, our guest today. Brian, let's talk about this old crop corn we have in the bin. It's in storage. Of course, we want to do something with it, get some cash flow at some point, but any advice on what we should do here?
Sure, not much opportunity lately, but there have, and watch your basis first of all. If you,
okay.
You can secure a good basis, make sure and work with that. There's not a lot of carry in the cash contracts, so I'd be inclined probably if I needed my cash flow or I was worried about conditions to just start moving this sooner than later. And if you wanted to retain the ownership, then look at some kind of a call option. Maybe go out to September, stand in front of this market. Now, I don't want to overpromise here, but we went back and looked the last 10 years.
Okay.
And then we narrowed it back to the last 6 years. In the last 6 years, if you looked at the July corn contract and took the summer-fall low, that is sometime before December 31st, took that low, and then looked at those years and saw, okay, what was the percentage increase? It's 13.5% increase in value of the contract. So that gives July corn an upside target at a minimum, if you use those numbers, of 433. So it's interesting that, you know, we can't seem to get out of the starting blocks right now, but history has told us, be a little patient, you'll probably get some opportunity to sell this corn at a better price. Yet, if you need the cash flow, make sure that you're moving it. We're in a different world right now with this coronavirus and, you know, just South American crops and things that are fun selling, keeping this market kind of a wet rag over it right now.
Yeah, it is one of those things that, you know, this time of year, it does seem like it's hard to get this thing to move until we get into this planting season. And, you know, then it's that May and June that we've seen these kind of flush of and run of prices.
They do often happen in a hurry. Perception often runs the marketplace. So the perception right now is we've got ample inventory, more acres next year. It's negative, 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 and the market kind of drifts. It's really a trader's market right now. They're selling the rallies, buying the dips. We're range bound in price. Yet from a long-term perspective, you need to really balance this. The key is probably not getting caught with too much old crop inventory on hand. Basis levels start to widen, and all of a sudden the value of your corn is worth considerably less. So it's a balancing act and using the right tool for the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that advice. Thank you, Brian. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
To discuss marketing strategies, call 800-334-9779 or visit stewartpeterson.com. Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast all about production agriculture. Brought to you by Pivot Bio Proven, the nitrogen-producing microbes that stay put, weather or not. Visit pivotbio.com.
A new problem for Australia, flooding. 19 inches of rain has hit the north coast of the country in just 4 days, and that's leading to situations like you see here. Crews forced to perform 40 flood rescues across the area. Experts say it's uncommon to see rainfall rates like they've been seeing, but the heavy rain does offer some relief to farmers with drought-ravaged land now drenched, with some areas having been in 100% drought for more than a year. And just, it's been an incredible situation there. They're getting some rain, but a lot at one time.
Yeah, and you can't just go from one extreme to the other. It's never a good thing, especially from the drought to the too wet, because that ground is so dry, it's not really able to soak in the water like a normal sort of saturated or somewhat saturated ground would. Anyway, let's take a look at our forecast today, because we're going to be seeing a lot of that rain in the southeastern part of the country again. But notice we're also going to see some snow in parts of the southwest. We have a couple of lows. One is going to be moving into the northeast and off the coast, but we have a secondary low that's bringing not only rain but some snow to parts of northern Texas and into New Mexico, Colorado, even parts of Arizona. Notice the one spot that we're not seeing a ton of precipitation today is the northwest. You get a bit of a break. You'll see just a few spotty areas. High pressure moving across the plain states. That'll keep things fairly dry there, but it's really going to be kind of the southern part of the U.S. that's going to be the focus. As we head through our Tuesday, we're going to be seeing that low moving off the coast, but that front doesn't make a lot of movement. So we're going to see those showers and thunderstorms concentrated along that front. Still some snow for parts of Texas, New Mexico, and even in Colorado. Now, as we get into the overnight hours, we start to see this low gaining some steam and a lot more moisture. So that's going to be moving into eastern Texas, Oklahoma, into Arkansas, maybe even a little snow on the north side of that. We also have another front that's coming down into the northern parts of the U.S. So that's going to be bringing snow with some colder air there. Through our day on Wednesday, we see this low moving further up to the northeast. So a lot of rain, especially in the south central United States into the southeast. We're going to see snow on the backside of that. Eventually, these are going to be coming together. So it's going to be very interesting in the eastern part of the country. We'll start to see a little bit more rain coming into the northwest. Now, over the last 24 hours, you can see the focus has really been in the southeast, and we're going to just add more to that. So very, very heavy rain. Flooding is going to be an issue in a lot of these central Gulf Coast states. All right, as we take a look quickly at that snowfall, it's been mostly over in Colorado, New Mexico, where the heaviest snow has been the past 24 hours, and we're going to continue to see that. And and then we'll start to see some snow coming into the north central United States. As far as temperatures are concerned, even cool all the way down into Texas, where we're only looking at 33 in Amarillo today. And as we go into the overnight hours, we're going to see those temperatures not that bad as far as the cold in some of those northern states. You could see the colder air coming further to the south, but tomorrow we're going to see those highs only about 2 below in Bismarck. So we're going to see colder air starting to come in to the northern United States. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Mariposa, California, plenty of sunshine for you today with a high of 62 degrees. Heading over to Butterfly, Kentucky, showers, falling temperatures through the day with a high of 53 degrees. And Monarch Mills, South Carolina, showers and thunderstorms.
Finally, some good news to talk about when it comes to dairy exports, including some numbers that might surprise you next. Some good news about dairy. The value of U.S. dairy exports reached nearly $6 billion last year. That's a 8% jump over 2018 and a 25% increase over the last 3 years. The Dairy Foods Association saying it's a level not seen since the high water mark of 2014. Total volume was down 7% from 2018. Declines in volume exports were attributed to lost sales of whey and lactose to China due to tariffs and African swine fever. Now, cheese export volumes were up 3% last year, the most in 5 years. And whole milk sales are seeing some improvement in 2019. Dairyfoods.com reporting whole milk was the only category to see positive growth last year, up more than 2.5% in dollar and unit sales. Data from IRI, a Chicago-based market research firm, showing 4 brands even posted double-digit gains. They are Creamoland Dairy, Fairlife, Hood Lactaid, and Danone. 2 of the top 10 whole milk brands lost sales last year, including Dean Foods Dairy Pure, which lost 4.6% of unit sales last year. We know early intervention can help close development gaps early in life, but how can people in rural America get access to it? A new cutting-edge therapy is giving them hope. See how it works next.
America's conservation ag movement is brought to you by these great foundational partners, empowering resilient and sustainable agriculture.
Experts say signs of developmental delays can often be identified in the first year of life, but evolving therapies that help parents act early and close those gaps are often not available locally. Now, a new clinical trial is investigating a unique approach to remote treatment, starting with children who need it most. Anitra Hamper has the details in this report provided by UCLA's Simmel Institute for Neurodevelopment and Human Behavior.
At 7 months old, John Michael Crawford was diagnosed with tuberous sclerosis, a genetic disorder that often causes developmental issues, including autism. So when his parents began to notice delays, they weren't sure where to turn.
It hurts because as a mama, you want to be able to do, but you got to know it takes a village.
The Crawfords, who live in Arkansas, expanded their village to include experts more than 1,500 miles away at UCLA's Simmel Institute in Los Angeles, where scientists are exploring an innovative approach using technology to bring cutting-edge treatments to patients thousands of miles away.
Every week they practice with their baby. They upload their videos to a trained interventionist who's at the sites.
The remote sessions are really the only reason we were able to participate in the program. We could do it on our schedule. We could do it in a space that he was familiar with, his toys.
The therapy, called Jasper, is a science-backed method developed at UCLA that uses play to enhance children's development and behavior. The therapy can be implemented in infancy, long before treatment would normally begin. Scientists found early signs of autism in this group of infants who until now would never have received crucial early intervention.
The earlier you can intervene, the earlier you can enrich that environment, the more likely you are to actually exact change in brain development and brain function.
After a thorough assessment of the child,
what's this?
A leg.
A leg.
Therapists train parents to use the Jasper method in everyday play.
So that's why every time he's talking to me, I'm responding to him.
Okay.
Allowing them to improve every day and report back on their progress via telemedicine. At UCLA's Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior, this is Anitra Hamper reporting.
And we thank UCLA's Semel Institute for Neurodevelopment and Human Behavior for that report. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Spent part of the day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.